You're listening to Zdenek's English podcast, by far the greatest English podcast on earth for English learners since sliced bread. My name is Zdenek and I'm your host. This episode of Zdenek's English podcast is sponsored by Teacher Zdenek. It's not really sponsored, but you know what I mean. Basically, I want to make you an offer. No, don't leave. Stay here. Stay where you are. This is gonna be cool, okay? Now, hear me out. Do you need to get more speaking practice into your life? Who doesn't? Tell me one person who doesn't need to do that. If you really want to make progress with your English, you need to speak, and speak. 24/7. You know what? 24/7 might not be enough. You need more like 25/8. And when I say speak, I really mean speak. Not like always just listen, and listen, or read, and read. And maybe then once in a blue moon, speak. But you really need to speak, and speak regularly with real people. Ideally with people who are cool. Okay, I'll stop this now. Basically, here's what you need to do to join my private Discord group. Send me an email at teacherzdenek@gmail.com, and in this email say something like, "Hi Zdenek, I want to join your group," or something like that. Then I'll respond with my email, and in this email you will get a unique link which you will then use to access the group. And then when you're in the group, you can stay for 1 week and I'll let you try it all out, okay? Does that sound fair? I hope so. And if you don't like it, which is absolutely impossible, if this happens, then you can always leave, yeah? And if you do like it, which, let's be honest, is way more likely, then you can become a member. It's all up to you. You hold the power, you have the choice, okay? Now, you'll find more information in the description of this episode. There's also a quick guide video on how to use my Discord group. Just make sure you watch that to make things easier for yourself. And if you're not convinced yet, here is one of the members.
Hi, I'm Helen. I like the Achievers Chamber because it's a nice place where I can learn in a friendly and supportive atmosphere.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much for listening to this. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to this episode. So hello everyone. Hello listeners of Zdenek's English podcast. Welcome back. This is another episode. And this time I'm joined by my friend and also a fellow English teacher, Irena from Poland. Hi Irena, how are you doing?
Hi Zdenek, hello.
Good to see you. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
You good? Okay. So Irena has been on this podcast before many times, namely to talk about her favorite subjects or interests, i.e. painting and birds. Do you remember that, Irena?
Pretty well, I would say, yeah.
But today, there's a new topic. And that's what we like on this podcast, especially if it is about another country. So which country are you going to talk about today, Irena?
So I'm going to talk about South Africa.
Why so?
Well, there's a reason for it, because I actually went to South Africa this summer in June and stayed until like the third week of July. So I went basically for 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Mm-hmm. Similar length to my working trip to Ireland. Wasn't really much of a trip, but you went on a trip, or was it also work related, Irena?
So it wasn't exactly work related, but I wouldn't say it was really a 100% vacation. I did some volunteer work and I worked remotely as well, just the same way as I do in Poznan, where I live.
Was that your decision, or was it part of that?
It was my decision, yeah.
Okay. You essentially had time to do that, and Why wouldn't you? It's a long time to be away from work, right?
It's a long time to be away, and I wouldn't say at the time I thought I couldn't really. I don't know if I can say I couldn't afford, but I didn't really want to take like 4 weeks off. So
Yeah.
I just decided to mix it up a little bit. So there was some work, but there was some time off as well. So it was
Mhm.
kind of combined. Yeah.
Nice. So, Irena, on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you evaluate the whole experience of being in South Africa? How was it for you?
Well, when you think about the highest possible number of points, like 10, you would probably think about something perfect. I wouldn't say my experience was perfect, but I still would grade it as 10 out of 10.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I guess that's part of the reason we are here talking about this, because obviously you have mentioned a few snippets to me here and there. And I thought I might as well invite you onto the podcast because I don't know if I had anyone to talk about South Africa here. I can't really remember anymore. I may have had someone from South Africa on the podcast, but I honestly can't remember anymore, Irena. And I think Africa in general, the continent of Africa, doesn't get enough publicity anyway on my
Mhm.
podcast, and in general I think it's an underrated country. So
I
i
agree.
think i think this is perfect. This is a perfect opportunity to rectify that. It's the right thing to do, in my opinion, and it's great that you're here to help me with that. Would you agree that the country, or the continent, the entire continent, has so much to offer and we just don't talk about it enough?
The continent has a lot to offer, and the continent itself is very diverse. I think when people think about Africa, we are used to the idea that obviously Europe, there are some common features, but obviously the continent is also very diverse. Like, let's say Poland or the Czech Republic is not exactly the same country as, let's say, Spain or Portugal, for example. Yeah? But in terms of Africa, I think many people have an idea that it's kind of exactly the same entity. I mean, the entire continent is basically very uniform, and it's absolutely not the case, first of all. And second of all, like we Europeans, we don't really learn a lot about Africa, so I think our level of knowledge is not really high, and mine definitely wasn't, and I still wouldn't say it is, but I guess it's better because of my personal experience. But I think, yes, Africa has definitely a lot to offer.
Let's be honest, a lot of people from this part of the world, we think of Africa as a place which has a lot of underdeveloped countries, or let's call it developing countries to be more precise. But like you said, it's not exactly the same everywhere, and I would say South Africa is one of the most progressive countries. Is that fair, or how would you rate it yourself?
Mm, you know, it's actually very diverse in the sense that um, the level of living is also very different depending on who we are talking about. And
Yeah.
also, hmm,
So Africa is diverse. South Africa is diverse. Everything is diverse, basically. But
I mean,
let's talk
in
about.
South Africa, there was a clash of, different cultures. There
Yeah.
was obviously, a long, colonization history as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that contributed to its diversity. That also, unfortunately, has minimized in some ways its diversity, or almost killed, because some
Yeah.
cultures are basically have gone extinct. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about this trip then. So why did you decide to go there? What was the idea behind it?
Well, I don't know if I should talk about the whole story or just a part of it.
Well, it depends. Do we have time for everything? I guess not. So you have to give us a shorter account of what went on, how it all came about, Irena.
It was my dream to go to Africa. Actually, I at first I had another country in mind when because of some obstacles I didn't manage to go there. But at some point when I realized that it wasn't possible, at least this year, I thought like, well, my number two is South Africa. Why South Africa? Because I saw basically some postcards, some pictures, and I thought like the landscapes are amazing. I like African music as well, and there was a personal, like a even more personal reason for it as well, because I painted some places in South Africa, and I thought it would be cool to, actually visit them and see what
Yeah.
they look like in reality.
Hmm.
And I also wanted to go somewhere really, really far. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
you
it
know,
doesn't get further than that. South
beyond
Africa.
beyond
You
Europe,
would,
first of all, to get a
yeah.
completely different perspective. I wanted to go to another continent as well. It wasn't my first time doing this,
Okay.
but as I had, I immigrated to Canada, for example, when I was 17. But at the time, like people prepared the way for me, better or worse, depending on their successes and failures. But still, I didn't have to do it, myself. And this time, I just wanted this challenge to, do it completely myself, and whatever would come out of it, would just
Yeah.
that's the way it would be.
Hmm. Okay. So what was your itinerary then?
My itinerary.
Uh,
Would
you might have to simplify it because you're talking about 4 weeks. So just what were the main, I don't know, the main things you were going to do there, and did you do everything you planned to do?
I did pretty much everything. Um,
So what was it that you did? If it's
so
not top secret, of course.
no, it's definitely not top secret. So first I went to the province of Mpumalanga. It's more or less northeast. Sorry, I had to think for a moment. And
It's in the east of Africa, in the east of South Africa.
South Africa, pretty close to the border with Mozambique, for example.
Okay.
Um, I volunteered on a farm, and basically there were some other volunteers as well. So I can talk a little bit later about all the activities
Volunteers.
we did. But basically, I spent like almost 3 weeks in Pumalanga, close to a small town called White River. And I visited the surroundings, the major attractions and so on.
Hmm.
And then I went to Cape Town by plane from Johannesburg to Cape Town. I spent like 3 nights, 4 days, more or less, in Cape Town and 3 days in Johannesburg. And then I had to go back.
Okay. So Johannesburg is the capital, but is it?
It's the main. Economically speaking, it's the main city. Like
What's the capital then of South Africa?
Well, it's pretty interesting because Africa, apparently, South Africa, sorry, apparently has three capitals.
Ah.
There's a different capital when it comes to like financial matters, and there's a different capital when it comes to, I don't know, you could say politics, and the main capital is Pretoria.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I forgot about that one, Pretoria. And then Cape Town. It's like the most south or the Can you say the southernest? Oh no, the most south land in Africa, right? It's the what do you call
It's
it?
actually no. It's actually no. It actually isn't. No.
Oh,
No.
okay, but it's close, right? It's one of the like most south places in South Africa.
It is. Yeah, one of them, but
Okay.
not the most.
Which one is the most? I forgot. I used to know all this. Cape, is it like Cape of Hope or something? Isn't it called Cape of Hope or something like that? Hang on, I'm gonna Google it.
Cape of Hope is not. It's not a city really. It's just like
Cape
a
of Good Hope. Cape of
Cape of
Good
Good
Hope.
Hope. Yeah.
It, don't know if that's what that's what I mean, but okay, I'll just Google it. The most south place in South Africa. Just Googling it.
I think it could be Cape. Yeah. The Cape of Good Hope. But
Cape Agulhas. Cape that is the southernmost, oh, that's the word, by the way, southernmost point of the African continent, located 109 miles, which is 176 kilometers southeast of Cape Town. So
okay.
there you go.
Fair enough.
And it is indeed what I said. So Cape Agulhas is the southernmost part of South Africa. Also shown is the Cape. Oh no, it's not. I guess it's close enough though. Is the the southern tip of Africa, the most southern tip of Africa. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, I guess. So so basically, the most part of your trip was spent on that farm. Am I right?
The majority of it, yes.
The majority of it. So you were volunteering there. That was near the, you call it the White River.
White River, yeah.
The White River. Okay.
The town was White River, yeah.
Okay. So, what was the color of the water in the river then?
It was just exactly the same as everywhere.
I thought it would be white or something. You know, I'm quite disappointed now, Irena.
Sorry.
It's called the White River, isn't it? Anyway, so the volunteering on the farm. So, what exactly was that all about then? Or what did it involve?
Well, they have a huge nursery, so they sell plants to suppliers, mostly suppliers, like to other businesses, not to individuals. And it mostly involved typical gardening work.
Okay, so was it something you were used to doing, or did you have to do something new, or?
Yeah, I had to do something new as well.
Such
but
as?
it wasn't something completely unknown to me. I mean, my mother used to have a garden, so I was used to some of the work. I was an expert in it, I would say, but yeah.
Okay, but were you there alone, or were you there with other volunteers? Could you work together as a team, or?
Everyone would get something different, like a different task mostly, and they also took care that we had basically made sure that we had, each day or almost each day a different task. So it wasn't boring in that way, it wasn't something completely monotonous.
Okay. But when you say it was like volunteering work, does it mean that like that you had to pay for everything else? Did you also pay for the tickets and?
I had to pay for for my flight tickets, for example, or transport and so on. I didn't have to pay for accommodation.
That's why you did it, because that would be very expensive.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Okay, that's cool. And where was the food provided?
The food was provided Monday to Friday. It was an interesting arrangement because on Saturday and Sunday, when we didn't have any work to do, we had to actually take care of ourselves. But the food was provided, as I said, like Monday to Friday. I would say it was more than enough. Healthy, pretty varied in terms of like what they offered. It was mostly actually grown by
Yeah.
by them, by the
Yeah.
owners.
That's what I was thinking, because that's the advantage, like you're working on a farm, you can pretty much harvest something and then eat it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So this side of the trip was all good then, or were there any problems with it?
Well, there were mostly advantages, and there were some disadvantages,
Mhm.
which kind of turned out to be disadvantages.
Okay.
Progressively, I would say. So they weren't apparent, right away.
Okay.
Um, I guess
But
I might start with advantages first. So I definitely liked being, in the fresh air, practically the whole day.
yeah.
Um, it was well organized, definitely. We had to work
Okay.
from 7 to 12, and there was a good reason for it. Basically, after 12, it was like really hot enough to make work pretty difficult.
Sorry.
Um,
Did you say you worked from 7 to 12?
7 to 12, yeah.
That's not too bad. So it's just 5 hours every day.
5 hours, yeah.
That's
It was
nice.
it was physical work. Sometimes it was pretty physical, so I would say
Yeah.
it was enough. But yeah, I wouldn't
That's
say
quite
it.
nice.
But I
That's
would
quite
say
nice.
it was fair. Yeah, I would say it
That,
was
that seems
fair.
that seems nice, like, because you still had a lot of time to do other things
You
every
had the
single day,
whole
pretty
day
much.
basically in front of you, yeah, where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you were free to do whatever you pleased. Yeah, so
Exactly. You had breakfast in the morning, then you went to work,
hmm
then lunch, and then the whole afternoon and evening was for you. So what?
yeah,
So how
exactly.
did you spend most of your days then?
I did some drawing. I did some, I socialized with other volunteers as well.
Okay. So where were these volunteers from then? I'm quite curious to know.
South Africa,
Okay.
mm, France, Spain,
Okay.
Italy.
Yeah. That's cool, because we know you speak a lot
Um,
of different languages as well. So did you actually get to practice these languages?
I got to practice Spanish just a little bit and some French, but because most of the time we were all together, so it didn't make any sense to speak French when other people couldn't understand it, for example. So we mostly spoke English. Yeah,
Okay. Cool. So you made some new friends?
yeah, we did.
Fantastic. So how many people were there then? You said it's a group of volunteers from different countries, but how many of you? So does it mean that you were all living under the same roof, or different buildings? Or how can I imagine this?
There were two buildings, so
Okay.
and there were several bedrooms as well. For 2 nights, I shared my bedroom with another girl, but other than that, I was just by myself. So
Okay.
it was pretty convenient, and
Yeah, that
I
sounds
had my own bathroom as well.
really. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. So this is. So is this like, how can we understand this? So do they do this the whole year out, or how does it work? Like, do they have this accommodation for all
all
these
year.
volunteers, that they all come all the time, or how does it even work?
It works all year round, pretty much. I would
Oh, really?
recommend actually going like during our summer, which means it's their winter because the weather is still, let's say, for Africa we could call it moderate. Yeah. In some
Sorry, I,
in
I didn't I didn't get that. So you
it's
were there.
I was in
It's
June and I was in June and July, which is
which is
African,
winter.
which is
Just
African will or at least South African winter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when the winter starts, right? I would say. So it's like, imagine we imagine reverse.
When our summer starts, it's basically when their winter starts. It's just the opposite,
It's the
basically.
opposite, because you were in the southern hemisphere. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Okay. So you say the weather was moderate. What does that mean then? Describe it to us, Irena.
It means basically in the summer you can get over 40 degrees. In winter it's just 20 something.
So you were there in winter then? You were there?
Over it can get up to over 20 degrees basically in the afternoon. Now, it's important to specify, what time of day we are talking about, because in the morning, let's say it's about 2 degrees, so you need a winter coat. I would usually wear like sweater and a winter coat in the morning.
Hang on
At
a minute.
around
But
8, 9 a.m., I would take off my winter coat. At 10, I would start feeling hot, so I would take off my sweater and just walk in short sleeves.
Wow, that's crazy. So
And
does anything even grow in that cold weather then? Like if you have 1 degree, how does anything even grow in that?
yeah, pretty well actually. Just the plants which are basically used to the climate. Yeah. So you can grow lots of stuff actually.
Okay. That's cool.
But
So
you have 4 seasons within one day, basically.
okay. Oh, there's one thing I'm always confused about. So when you say summer, our summer, we know exactly what we imagine here in the northern hemisphere. But do they call summer winter? Or do they call summer and it is winter for them? How does it work? Because I'm always confused. Because they keep the same month. I'm sure they keep the same month. So when it's July, here it's also July there.
It's called July as well.
Right.
But the seasons are basically different.
Reverse.
Like the season cycle goes, you could say, the opposite way, basically.
Yes.
So it's
we
like
keep the months. We keep the months. The months are the same as here.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it comes to the seasons, when it's summer here, it's winter there.
Exactly.
Yeah? And vice versa. Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Then, we have fall or autumn, and their spring begins, and then we have wintry months, and for them it's the summer, and it's as hot as it can get.
Okay, excellent. All right, so you said when you had those afternoons off and those evenings off that you mostly drew something. Did you also explore the surroundings or?
I explored the surroundings. We socialized a bit. We played board games as well.
Really?
Yeah, we did. Board games, card games. Talked.
Did you drink any alcoholic beverages as well? Is that popular in South Africa?
Some vodka. Why not? Yeah.
Vodka. Why not start with something harder? Yeah. Irena? Well, you are from Poland,
vodka,
so
some beer. It depends. We went dancing once to a club as well. So yeah.
In Poland, people drink quite a bit, right?
Well, we like vodka as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
I'm not a good drinker though, so.
Neither am I, Irena. I'm just wondering. We said we socialized. I was just trying to imagine what I would want to do after 5 hours of hard work in the garden, which I haven't done for years. I am trying to imagine how I would feel and what I would want to do. And I would definitely want to have a pint of beer or something. I did this in Ireland too. I always had a pint of Guinness. Not always, but let's say every other day I had a pint of Guinness, at least one.
We had a barbecue as well, but they don't say a barbecue. They always say that we have a braai. Braai.
Braai.
Braai.
Okay.
BRAAI.
Okay. Where does this word come from then? Is that
Afrikaans?
Afrikaans. So Afrikaans is one of the official languages. That's basically very similar to Dutch, to the Dutch language.
Very similar to Dutch. Apparently, Dutch and African speakers can understand each other. There is sort of mutual intelligibility. Yeah.
Okay. But so the people that employed you, tell me more about them. Who were they? The farmers. Was it one family or just more people or?
Well, they have a family, like relatives living nearby, but there were just 2 people.
Okay.
he was an Afrikaner, and his girlfriend was German.
So they were more or less the managers, not really the owners.
They were the owners and
Oh, they
managers
were
as
the owners.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
technically speaking, he was the owner. She was his girlfriend, so I guess you could treat her as the owner as well.
For now, it's just a girlfriend. They're not married, so who knows what's going to happen next. But I'm just joking. But the stuff that you were so do they like sell their products or
They sell their products, but they sell mostly to suppliers. Like
Okay.
they don't,
like wholesalers or
they are wholesalers. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So what were most of the products? What could you see it there, or you probably worked on that, right? So
Lots of different plants like flowers, succulents, and so on, and some vegetables as well, and some fruits. Well, they didn't sell everything they actually they grew, but mostly like all kinds of plants or all kinds of flowers, or perennial flowers, or like one annual. I think these plants are all called annual flowers. These were for sale.
Okay. So you're talking about like basically plants mainly, but any animals you had to tend to?
They have 4 dogs now, but I didn't have to take care of them.
They took care of you, maybe.
They were very friendly.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? They were guarding you. You need 4 dogs. I heard South Africa can be a dangerous place as well. So
It
I would
can
like
be a
you
dangerous
to
place.
either
So
prove
many
me right or
places
prove me
are.
wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, so many places are surrounded by barbed wire, for example, and this is pretty common. And you're not advised to walk alone by yourself in most areas. In some you can, but sometimes it's not really a good idea.
Okay.
So,
How did you feel yourself personally? Did you feel safe or?
I went a lot of times with other people, and I think local people are the best when it comes to good advice. So
Of course, yeah, of course.
So I just try to listen to what they have to say, or what kind of ideas they can come up with as well. So yeah,
I'm just saying this because this is what I heard from other people who have lived in South Africa. I have
it
met a
is
lot of
true.
I've met a lot of South Africans, especially when I was living in London, and they all told me that like the crime rate is really high and it's dangerous there. Like people shoot each other and stuff like that as well.
It is true. I mean, there are lots of places, as I said, are basically protected with like barbed wire, and there are lots of warnings, lots of signs. For
Really?
example, on a highway, let's say.
What
For
kind of
example,
signs? What kind of signs?
Crime area, do not stop here. Things
Crime
like that.
area. Really?
Or a crime spot. Don't stop here. For example.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So do people carry guns with them then? Is it allowed in South Africa to, like, is it similar to America, let's say, to the USA?
As far as I know, no, it's not. It's not allowed.
But the reality might be different.
It might be different.
Okay. Okay. So what were your highlights then? What were the highlights of this holiday, Irena? Work holiday, let's say.
Well, it wasn't the only part of it, but the highlights were definitely, socializing with other people, going on different trips together. Like some, I would say the main attractions in Pumalanga are basically some natural sites. Like you wouldn't go, on a classical sightseeing tour, for example, like in Europe.
Yeah.
But there's some natural wonders which are basically really
Okay.
amazing.
Are these well known, or is it more like hidden gems that not many people know about?
Both. Some hidden gems and some more publicized places, but I would say both. Like, you could just drive and, ev- every few kilometers you would see a sign, such and such waterfall, such and such cave, or something, to visit, or here's a trail, here's something else,
Yeah.
So
Okay,
there is there are mountains nearby, like where I lived on the farm. Like there were no mountains actually in the actual area, but like you could drive for, I don't know, about 20 or 30 kilometers, and
yeah, that's not very far away.
exactly.
So you said
There's
you drove. So did you rent cars, or how did it work?
We rented a car. Like we split the cost basically. We rented the car to go, for example, to Blight River Canyon or to visit another place.
Mm.
I just told the guys that I can drive, so I can really help them with that, but the rest is fine.
You were the backseat driver. You were giving instructions and helping with with directions.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we know you love painting. So you said you painted a lot there. So how many pictures did you paint then?
I would
Draw.
say I mostly drew a lot. I didn't paint as much as I kind of expected to. At some point, I thought,
You
you know,
drew.
when I look at my object, basically at that moment I decide what I feel would be the most suitable medium, and mostly it would. And mostly I just decided to go for crayons, for example. So,
Or
or colored
crayons. So you
crayons,
drew.
or in other words, colored pencils. So I did a lot of drawings with colored pencils. So yeah.
Sometimes I find it hard to distinguish which one is drawing, which one is painting. But I suppose crayons are drawing then.
Mm, just to simplify it, you could say that painting is when you use a brush.
Okay. And is it about water as well? Do you need water? Or no.
You need water as well.
Okay.
For oil paints, you probably don't, I would say. But
That's the one exception, let's say.
yeah, but for watercolors, you definitely do, as the name kind of indicates it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you drew, you basically you have your what do you call it? A sketchbook or something?
I had a sketchbook with me. Yeah.
So did you use just one sketchbook for all your drawings, or did you do it in a different way?
What do you mean? Like one sketch?
Well, I know you must have made a lot of drawings, right? So how does it work? So you have just one little sketchbook, and you always draw a picture, and the next day you flip the
I
page
have
and you draw
one.
another picture, or
Yeah, I have one sketchbook, so I keep drawing in it or painting in it until I finish it. Basically, until the
and what
whole
do you with
sketchbook
it then?
is filled with pictures,
Yeah.
and then I use another sketchbook, or sometimes I also draw or paint on loose sheets of paper as well.
So you keep these. So when you fill it in with drawings, you put it aside or put it away. And then you have all these different sketchbooks in your house or something like that.
I still don't have that many of them because
Okay.
there are people who definitely have made it in the, Guinness Book of Records.
Okay.
For me, it would take still a lot to do it, but
Okay. All right. And so obviously you also took photos of those pictures. I assume this is something you always do. Yeah. When you finish your drawing, you take a photo, you share it maybe on social media, because I know you have an Instagram account where people can see your drawings and pictures. So you might as well tell the listeners and viewers, because I have to remind this to people. If you are listening to this as an audio podcast, then there is a video version, because I'm also publishing this on my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called Teacher Zdenek. As well as that, if you are watching this, yeah, you are the viewers, as we say. If if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, there is an audio version of this, which is called Zdenek's English Podcast. So you can subscribe to that as well. But now back to Irena. So Irena, give us your Instagram handle, please.
So my Instagram account is heart, like heart, _ earned. Past participle of the verb to earn _ skills. So heart _ earned _ skills.
Irena, you couldn't make it more difficult for us.
Sorry.
Hang on.
Should I?
I have it
Should
here.
I say it again?
I have it here from our previous recording. So heart and skills with underscores in between.
In between
Heart,
_
heart as in the organ in your body that you need in order to live. Heart. Earned as in when you make money, you've earned a lot of money. Heart earned. Skills as in abilities.
Exactly, what you can do.
And there's other underscores, which are those little like dashes, but at the level of the line, let's say, at the bottom.
Yeah, but if you Google me by my first and last name, I guess.
Yeah,
it's possible to find my Instagram account as well, but my last name can be quite
Polish, so that doesn't make it any easier, Irena, I'm afraid. Okay, tell us your first and last name then, for Polish listeners at least.
Well, my first name is obviously, as you can see, Irena, and my last name is Kolbuszewska. Should I spell it out as well?
If you want.
How
long is that going to take, Irena? Sorry, but we don't have so much.
A few seconds. You can see my first name on the screen. My last name is Kolbuszewska.
Is it like 10 letters or how many?
I think more than 10, but I haven't counted actually.
Too many. So we've lost count, listeners. We've lost count. All right. So we have talked about your drawings. We have talked about your work. We have mentioned some sites, or let's say some UTs of South Africa that you visited. And obviously we know about your other passion, which is birds. So how was that? Did you encounter any birds?
Yeah, there were lots of birds. The problem was that I wasn't exactly able to identify them. So I was able to read about some of them. I just filmed or photographed some instructions as well. And, sometimes I would ask people if they were able to tell me what kind of bird it is. Yeah?
Hang on. So are you saying to me that you had never seen these birds before your entire life?
Obviously, yeah.
Wow. So was it like a large proportion of all those birds that you had encountered? Or did you meet any birds that you already knew?
Well, for example, once I saw a kingfisher, and it actually was really amazing because it just landed on a branch like about 4 or 5 meters away from me. I was just sitting like really quietly at the river bank, and I was about to get up and just go, but I was kind of hesitating, and I was pretty grateful for that because then the bird just came, sat down on the branch, and it was just amazing to look at it.
It probably knew it was you, and it felt at ease.
I don't know. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to scare it away.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So kingfisher, obviously, we may have heard from you before. I remember certainly you telling me that this is your favorite bird.
It's one of my favorite birds. Yeah.
It's one of your favorite birds.
It's absolutely beautiful.
So that must have been a great moment for you, like seeing a kingfisher in South Africa.
Well, just the fact that I remember it. I mean, when you go somewhere for 4 weeks, obviously you remember many different moments, but you're not able to remember everything. But this one, I think I will recall for a long, long time. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Did you also draw it or not?
Nope.
Okay. But you could do it, right? Because you remember that moment.
It's not easy to draw birds from memory, I would say. Unfortunately, my skills don't go that far, but
Fair enough. So you said there were a lot of birds that you didn't recognize. So did you at least know like what kind of birds they were, if they were birds of prey, or could you at least identify some, let's say, like, could you categorize them at least?
yeah, it's pretty easy in terms of what they look like. You know, like smaller birds with like pretty short beaks. They would be mostly the ones that eat insects or grain, stuff like that. Yeah. And yeah, you can recognize birds of prey as well. These ones actually, I was lucky enough to see from quite far, but they wouldn't approach you. And there were a lot of ibises, which obviously
sorry, say that again. I probably don't know this word.
An ibis, IBIS.
Oh yeah, I know ibis. Yeah.
So, well, these are obviously not very common in Europe, especially in Poland.
Okay, that's cool. So, colored birds, like parrots or something like that, that's not what you would see in South Africa, right?
Parrots, no, but for example, a bird called sunbird.
Sunbird.
Sunbird, which its plumage is like in all different hues and shades, like for example green, red, I don't know, a combination of, I think there's some black as well, and yeah, it's a very colorful bird. Yeah.
Sounds great. So we could say that this holiday had everything you wanted it to be, and that's probably why you gave it 10 out of 10.
I would give it, yeah, like each time, whenever someone asks me, I think I will give it like 10 out of 10. Yeah, definitely.
It must mean that all the positives outweighed. If there were any negatives, they were completely overshadowed by the positives, basically, which is always important, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Fantastic. Irena, thank you very much for telling us about this trip to South Africa. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure this might not even be your last time in that place. I'm sure but in the back of your mind, you want to go back, right?
Well, you guessed it right, yeah.
And sooner rather than later.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, is there anything else you would like to tell us at the end of this podcast / video recording?
I honestly think we would have to record a second part to it, because I haven't talked about Cape Town at all, or Johannesburg, and that deserves like basically I think a separate, recording probably. Okay, so
well, you know what?
If you want me to squeeze it in like within 1 minute or so, I'm not sure what else I could add at this point.
No. Don't do it. We can do part 2. If you want to do it, why not? Let's go for it. Because apparently, ladies and gentlemen, Irena has only scratched the surface. So we need to do part 2, which is a good thing, of course. So there is more to look forward to be continued.
Thank you.
Thank you, Irena, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
care. Guys, for listening. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching. Bye.
Thanks a lot for listening. For more information, go to Zdenek's English Podcast Facebook group or visit zdenek'senglishpodcast.podbean.com.